It is Locked On Jazz, live edition from the van down by the river. We'll see if it works today or not. What is a good night for the Utah Jazz? Wasn't the other night maybe as good as we could possibly imagine? And an impossible task for Jazz fans to try to handle this year. I'm not sure I'm capable of it, and I'm probably pretty certain you're not either. We'll do that, plus take your questions on a fun edition of Locked On Jazz. Pow!
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you very much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen every single day on this Wednesday edition of the show. Is brought to you by Truebill. Truebill is the new app that saves you money by helping you identify and stop paying subscriptions you don't want or need, and they can even negotiate better deals for you than you want to keep. We are live in the van down by the river, or maybe not down by the river. Oh, those lights are actually a little, let me just turn those off. So hope everyone's good. Let's see. Does this, oh, I don't want side lights. Let's see if this makes it better. There we go. There's the dome lighting. Welcome to the van down by the river. Hope everyone's enjoying it. Hopefully we're making it way better to be a Jazz fan. Thank you very much, Taylor. We're trying this. If it works, it's really cool because it means I can do all sorts of fun things like get up really early, get to ski resorts, do shows, go skiing, have a wonderful day. So we'll see if it works. Andrew, I'm in my van. We don't want to call it an RV, but it's a little it's a little longer than a regular Sprinter van, so it's kind of somewhere in between. By the way, if anyone's wondering, that is the espresso maker back there. So yes, the espresso maker's back there. This is my new toy. I look really happy. I love my new toy. It's kind of cool. Pop top up there for you if anyone's into this stuff. This is like, this YouTube's gonna hit because this is gonna be like a van tour as well as a podcast for the Utah Jazz. All right, so I was thinking about the Charlotte game, and I don't know if I am wrong on this one or not, but I got the vibe from everyone that they didn't love that game. Like, that didn't give everyone a feeling that this was like a really wet, like, you didn't leave that game saying, yay, Jazz, right? Like, oh, we're really, but what do we want? Like, is our level of appreciation and a good night just a 30-point blowout every night? Like, is that we hit 23s, we go bananas from 3, we kill someone by 20, and that makes us feel like we're having a good night every night? Because that's actually not real. That's actually not sustainable. What's really interesting to me about the Charlotte game is the more I think about it, the better a night I think it is. This is sometimes where I think the players and the coaches get things that we don't necessarily get right away. So Rudy Gobert in our postgame was like, that was a really good win. I was like, wow. Like, I didn't necessarily think it was that good a win, right? We were up 21. They whittled it down. We lost the lead. And then we go on and we go on a 12-2 run to close it. And from Rudy's perspective, he's like, that was a super good win. We played really well. We did all these things. We were unselfish. And I think he might be really right. And then Quinn was a little bit afterwards. So let's walk through what that night was. One is they hit him early, right? So they took a staggered team and they hit him early. Your night's easier now. If you're up 21, you go on a 12-2 run to close the game because you're not tired. If you think about San Antonio and Washington, we're playing either from behind or we're kind of working our way back into those games. San Antonio, we get down 6 with 6 minutes left. You're actually using a lot more energy. You're tired. And in Washington game, when I went back and rewatched, we just had a bunch of brainless, tired plays that, brainless meaning like you're tired, right? Your brain's not functioning the way it naturally would as a player. Like Royce, there was a play where I talked about where Royce is just not on Bradley Beal. Like, he knows better than that. He's tired. Like, he's trying to find the other way out. So I think there's an aspect of that. 2, we got unbelievable looks all night. I think we had the third best shot quality of any game we've had all season long. We had like a ton of wide open catch and shoots, which means we're moving the ball and getting it to people. We had potential assists is a much better number than assists, because potential assists gives you an idea of ball movement. Our potential assists were through the roof. Like, you actually should look at players and figure out what their potential assists are rather than their assists. It's actually a better indicator. Seth Partnow writes about it in his book. It makes a ton of sense. And so we were through the roof on potential assists. We were through the roof on catch and shoot. We had our third best shot quality tonight. We missed a ton of shots. A ton of shots. Just missed and missed and missed and missed. And won the game. Like, to me, that's pretty great. So you got what you're supposed to get. You execute what you're supposed to get. Didn't hit, which is to some extent luck, right? Or sample size. Like, I'm a big believer that by the end of the year, Bojan Bogdanovic is going to shoot 40% from three. On some night, he's going to be 8 of 10, and another night, he's going to be 0 of 10. And then by that, and you're going to say he sucks on one night and he's the greatest on the other. But actually, when it's done, he's 8 of 20, and that's 40%. Like, so it's just taking a small sample size. And actually, an individual basketball game is beautiful in the sense that 100 possessions is almost enough to not be a small sample size, but it actually still is a pretty small sample size when you get into the nitty-gritty. So catch and shoot 3 is a small sample size. Catch and shoot 3, like that on that. So we're going to have another night where we go 20 of whatever. And so I really thought that was a pretty good night. Like, that's about as good. You start lining these things up. So we hit early. We got a ton of good looks. We missed. We defended them beautifully most of the night. We crashed the offensive glass. So that's effort. We dictated the game, and I thought we were forceful. We dictated the game most of the night because we were hitting the offensive glass, which was taking away their transition and preventing them from doing what they wanted to do, which is get out and run and play free in the first half of the game. So that's another area where we dictated the game and did that. So to me, that's a good game. Like, and it's interesting because I think we actually have to think today's show is really kind of about where we are as a fan base and what we're feeling. We had a bunch of days off there, right? And like, frankly, Phoenix is freaking great. Phoenix is way better than us right now. Like, I'm watching Phoenix. Every time I watch Phoenix, my reaction is they look better than us right now. Doesn't matter. Like, we got to get better than them by game 70. I would say they look better than us right now. Our numbers are better than theirs, actually. So I might be wrong, and it might be just that, like, envious. You look at, like, there was a game last year where the Lakers and Clippers played. Maybe this was 2 years ago. This might have been pre-pandemic. Okay, sorry. Sorry for those listening on the radio or on the podcast and wondering what just happened, but I think we all like. So the Lakers and Clippers played like a Saturday afternoon or Saturday night or Sunday ABC game, and I remember watching it and being like, "Oh God." Like, they're both way better than us. I have a tendency to do that where I watch another team and think they're way better than us. But I did feel that. And I watched it. I think Phoenix is better than us right now. Like, but I also understand, like, I thought Phoenix was the best team in the West by a large margin when the season started. Like, my numbers had Phoenix on top of everything. So anyway, I mean, I think that a little bit of this whole show today is going to be this concept of getting to this. What is a good night? Like, what are we actually looking for as a fan base? Because we are getting caught in this, like, up and down, like, every time we lose, it's catastrophic. And every time we win, we're the greatest. And so it's an interesting little mix of that. All right. I want to take a bunch of your questions as well. And one of them just came in from Keith Anderson, who said there's a really good article by Sarah Todd in the Desert News today. It talks about teams' approach to the regular season this year. And that actually is what we're going to talk about next. I do want to give a hat tip to Sarah Todd, or this is Ray says this is a neutral hat today. This is a comfy hat today. My wife says I look terrible in hats, and I love hats, and it drives her crazy every time I wear them. Sorry, that was like personal, and I don't know why I shared it. I want to give a hat tip to Sarah Todd this year because we're a media group, right? So Andy and Eric and Ryan Miller and Ben Anderson and Ryan and everyone. I don't want to leave anyone out. Tony Jones, and Holly Rowe, and the value when someone in the room is doing great work, we all benefit because there's a lot limited one-on-one time. Sarah Todd has asked some of the best questions this year to both our people and opposing people and given us insights that we just didn't have otherwise. She's really done a wonderful job this year in that regard. That's not, this is not a slight to anyone else. This is if they're listening and they're so competitive that they're like, why didn't I get mentioned? Please let me know. I'll make sure I give you your appreciation as well. That's how I am. I would be listening right now and being like, why did he mention Sarah? Not my good question from last Tuesday. But I do think Sarah's really done a fabulous job with it. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Intercap Lending, located all around the Wasatch Front for you. And our own personal loan officer, Steve Carter, is simply the best. It's such a great pleasure that we have Steve Carter on our team because I can sit here and tell you with no reserve at all that Steve Carter will treat you with world-class attentive detail. Intercap Lending is hyper-responsive. They are a direct lender. They get the deals done. They are growing and growing and growing. And why do lenders grow? Because they lend and they get deals done, and it makes realtors happy, and they get things and they get financing done, and that makes everyone happy because that's their business. And Steve Carter is at the core of it. Call 385-800-8528 if you want to call Steve directly. You are more than welcome to email me at dlock09@gmail.com. That's dlock09@gmail.com. And have me reach out to Steve directly and connect the two of you. I don't mind that. In fact, I like it. So you can do that as well. Intercap Lending, NMLS number 190465. For more information, visit intercaplending.com. If you reach out on your own, please make sure you mention you're with Locked On Jazz. We have a corporate account with them, so you get the corporate discount. Steve Carter's number is 385-800-8528, or you can just email me first at dlock09@gmail.com. All right, so this is kind of funny because my van is my calm. So this is my escape, my getaway, my be there, my COVID safe way to ski, my everything. This is I just need this. We can do a psycho deep dive on my jacked up brain and why I need this. But this is my deal. The other one that I have found that I really love is Calm. And Calm is a meditation, wellness app. LeBron uses it for sleep. I use it for, frankly, just general everyday slowing down, catching focus. It has helped my focus. It has eased my stress. It has allowed me to get through things better. In all aspects of life, I have serious, dentist, I was at the dentist yesterday. I don't like that. I get a little claustro. And what did I do? What did I do yesterday? But I, was at the dentist and kind of went into my meditation breathing. It's really cool. Just check it out. I have a guy that I really, really like. He, at calm.com/lockedonnba, you can get 40% off your premium subscription. Nice holiday gift for someone as well. Be a funny one. I think you, this might help you. Calm.com/lockedonnba, for you. Get 40% off your offer. All right. So Sarah Todd wrote a piece, which actually, honestly, I have not read, but I heard all of her questions, and she picked up on something really interesting, that when we won 8 in a row, both Donovan and Rudy were like, you know what? We're not that into 8-game winning streaks like we used to be. We're not that high from them. Mike Conley reiterated, wow, I've never been on a team like this before that felt that way. I wonder if these are all the quotes she used. I'm sure it's a great story, so go read it. And then when they lost 2 in a row, they were actually really consistent to the same approach where they were like, well, we just lost 2 in a row, but that's all right because that's not what this is about. And what this is about for them is being better at game 70 and being better at game 75 and being ready for game 7 of the NBA playoff series that they're going to be in at some point in time by the 70th game of the year, so that when DeJounte Murray at 6'6" takes Mike Conley into the lane and hits the shot, it's a pretty interesting moment in time for the Jazz as a franchise and their growth, because what are we going to do if we're playing a team that has that player, and how do we deal with it? So I think that, this is where this team is, and this is, I think, the impossible task for Jazz fans this year is this idea that somehow we're supposed to be able to not go with the ebb and flow and look at these nights in this bigger picture of 70 games down the road. And it's really interesting to watch because as the media, like, it's not how we cover a team. It's as a fan base, not how we root for a team. And yet as a team, Quinn's exactly right. Quinn's got this team completely into the mindset of like, we're playing to be better in game 70, 75, and 80. And the players are reiterating that back to us so that when they win 8 in a row, what they're actually thinking about is like, okay, well, what in that winning streak did we do well or did we not do well that we need to do better so that we can beat the Clippers in game 6 and get game 7 back to home and then win game 7? What do we need to do better so that we don't lose a 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets? These are the items that this group is kind of really, really dead focused on right now. And they're holding to that really consistently. And it's really opposite of where we are as a fan base, which makes this a pretty interesting little journey we're all on together. And I have not, I've only been around it once before probably in my life. And that was the second time the Jazz went back to the NBA Finals. We knew that entire year that the Jazz were going back to the finals. That wasn't close, right? We beat the Houston Rockets team that was super great. I was doing pre-half. To those who don't know, I was doing pre-halftime and post-game for the Jazz then, so I was around. We beat the Houston Rockets in that season, and we were super. That was a great series. They had Olajuwon, they had Drexler, they had Barkley. The next year, they weren't very good, and we had we ended up with a different approach to that one, which was that the next year we were just going to beat everyone. We swept the Lakers. We were way better than everyone. It's just a question of whether we could beat the Bulls. And so that, in retrospect, if I'd known more, that season was probably that very much exact same kind of thing where you're playing for that, that kind of progression. That's what we're playing with. And we know what those are. How do we deal with switching? We dealt with it badly against Washington. Like, okay, they switched on us. We got stymied. Charlotte, I thought, did something really interesting. They changed our defense against us every 3 or 4 plays, and our guys' goal was to stay aggressive, but that seems almost impossible to be that aggressive when someone's changing on you and you're trying to read the circumstance each and every time. So each of these is really, really kind of an interesting mode to look at. All right, let's go to some of the questions that have come in. Let's see. We were number 1 regular season team. It doesn't mean that much when you get bounced in the second round. So I really 100% disagree with this concept. So first off, last year, because we were the number 1 seed, we played Memphis in the first round in a playoff series. We would win 10 out of 10 times. There was not another playoff series that we would win 10 out of 10 times. In fact, I'm not sure there was another playoff series we would have won more than 6 out of 10 times. So I think that's a very, I think that's a difficult process in that, like, to say that first seed didn't matter. Now, we lost in the second round of the playoffs, but we could have lost the second round playoffs with the Clippers threw something at us. We didn't have an answer for it. What's interesting, by the way, is we've really worked. So that's like one of the things that we're working toward game 70. When someone wants to put Rudy Gobert in the far side corner, how can we still impact plays defensively? What's interesting is we've actually done that really, really well this year, to the point where both Washington and San Antonio went with a different approach, which was to put Rudy Gobert in the dunker spot, which is on the baseline by the side of the glass, and then have their guys pull up from 15 feet, not trying to get to the rim. The Clippers moved Rudy and then attacked the rim, and Rudy couldn't have an impact. By the time Rudy got there, it was too late. The last little twist we're seeing is that Washington and San Antonio went and took their guys and had them play Gobert back at the baseline, and then they're pulling at 15 or 12 or 8, and Gobert can't affect the shot. So that's like another quest. Like, what's our answer to that in the process of game 70? Like, when I saw a play the other night, I'm not sure how we totally defend it, which is clear side, tight curl to a mid-range shooting guard, where Rudy's guy sets the pick. Like, is Rudy going to switch and then that big rolls on Royce? Are we bringing somebody over? Like, that's going to be a really interesting mix. When that's Devin Booker off a DeAndre Ayton pick, and Mikal Bridges is in this far side corner, so you don't want to leave him, and Chris Paul or some other shooter, let's see who's their fourth guy, is there, and Chris Paul's at the top making that pass. That's Jay Crowder lifted high, so you're leaving Jay Crowder, basically, is what you're doing. But that gets really really tricky on that. I'll get to more of your questions. There's some good ones out there, and I super appreciate your guys' involvement in the show today as we come to you from the van down by the river. It actually seems to be working. We'll see if it holds. It's kind of cool. Today's show is brought to you by Built Bar. Promo code LOCKED15 will get you a 15% discount at everything at built.com. Candy cane brownie bites. Are you kidding me? Can it be better? Yes, those are out today. Candy cane brownie bites. I have to order more Built Bars. Like, how do they do this? Factory second sale is going on right now as well, and there are coconut brownie chunk in there. I'm not like lying about this, people. Like here, like there, they're right here. Factory seconds on gingerbread, which just came out, are really good. Factory seconds on ruby chocolate. So go check it out. The factory seconds are available, all sorts of flavors. I don't know what defines a factory second. You can decide for yourself whether you're willing to gamble that, but I can't figure it's that bad. 100% real chocolate, 100% really delicious. It is Built Bar. The numbers are just outstanding. The macros, when you get a Built Bar, you're getting a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. My partner, Carl, thinks the caramel almond delight is delightful and absolutely fantastic. Built Bar has 130 calories for you, 2.5 fat grams, 4 net carbs, 4 sugars, and 17 grams of protein. Today's show also brought to you by betonline.ag. If you want to get into the action over the holiday weekend and all the bowl games, Locked On, get you a 50% welcome bonus. Friday night football, Niners and the Titans. Niners are a 3-point favorite over the Titans. Niners have really saved their season amazingly. A bunch of college basketball for you tonight on the NBA docket tonight of games of interest for our end. Sacramento and the Clippers. Clippers are 5.5-point favorite. Denver 6.5-point favorite over Oklahoma City. And we'll be back in action tomorrow. Go to betonline.ag. Use the promo code LOCKEDON for your 50% welcome bonus. Let's go to Eric on our JC is a streaky shooter. When he starts points off drives, floaters, mid-range, he gets hot easier. Then he can chuck up threes once, and he has a 4 of 6 instead of a chucking bad 3 initially. JC's an interesting player. He's really inefficient right now, and it's interesting for me because that's very contrary to what I believe in, but he brings such incredible intrinsic value to the team and so many other aspects of things. I think it'll be interesting to see how his season evolves. If you actually look at his play for about the last 12 games, he's right on. He's at about 44% from field and 40% from 3. So I think he's leveled the ship and has got it rolling a little bit. And I think he's I think he's bringing all of his value along the way. Matthew, really enjoy hearing the games on the radio. My question is, where did the tickle the twine come from? And do you have other phrases you use like that? I don't know. Might have stole it from Steve Klauke. Might not have stole it. I don't like catchphrases because I'm not very good at it, probably. I don't use them. I also think you become really dependent on it. Over the time, I've had certain catchphrases that went with players. So every time Favors dunked, it was a Ron Swanson line from Parks and Rec, I'll take all the eggs and all the bacon, but I haven't brought that back. I've used a few different musical sounds like Rock the Casbah from Clash, and when Rudy dunked the other night, I used it because it was the 40th year anniversary of Combat Rock. So there'll be little things like that I do for my own little thing. If we're in Graceland, if we're in Memphis, I'll probably use something like from Elvis. So I try to play around. 3-point play for a long is I'll use buy one and get one free. I use the Tom Petty "Don't Do Me Like That," which I think I stole from Kevin Calabro. I think I use, you steal them. Frankly, everyone steals everything. But I don't know if Tickle the Twine might be mine, or I'm going to go that maybe I stole it from Klauke. Klauke's great. So, but thank you, Matt. I appreciate you listening. But I think as an announcer, I think sometimes, at least for me, the way my brain works, phrasing has made, like catchphrases for me were very difficult early in my career, and they got me to not call the game correctly. Some of my worst calls are my best. I'm not going to win that. I'm not going to win the X's and O's fundamentals of broadcasting award here. So what do we want? We want a championship level team on both sides of the ball. We don't want to lose back-to-back home games to 500 teams. Okay, that's fine. I think that's fair. I do think you do lose those games every now and then, and we just happen to do it back to back. Like I don't think we're going 70-12. Right? Like I mean, seriously, like if you suddenly eliminate, like we shouldn't lose. Both those teams were dead 500. You're going to lose some of them. I think what's hard to remember is, I think if we probably have a 73% chance to win against Minnesota. Like that would be my guess. If you go to 538, maybe it's a little higher. But 538 does your kind of odds of winning every game by a percentage, which for those who watched Hillary Clinton in the election saw that doesn't mean that you win all the time on 538. So if you look, for example, the Nuggets have a 72% chance to beat the Thunder today. So we have we actually have a 91% chance to beat the Timberwolves on. Wow, I'm really surprised by that number. Why? All right, so we have a 91% chance to win against. That seems really, really high. And then we have an 82% chance to win against the Mavericks, which seems really, really high. And then we go on the road and we have a 67% chance against the Spurs. Well, they never have us ever losing. And then what's our next one? We play the Blazers. We have a 57. Like at some point you lose, right? Even if you have a 75% chance of all these things happening, eventually you lose along the way at some point. So I think you have to understand that. Same question, we need an elite win defender that can defend on the run. Don't need to score since we have lots of ways to score. So this is the general consensus, but what I think is, and we need to be better in transition defense, and I think we need some length in transition defense. So I generally agree with this, but like one player that doesn't need to score screws up everything. We already have a non-shooter on the floor. Like if we had 5 shooters on the floor and you wanted to add a non-shooter, you could cut or play off the ball or do something, that's fine. But we already have a non-shooter on the floor every night in Rudy Gobert. And so I think you have to be really careful about deciding whether or not you're going to go add another non-shooter to this mix, because I think it could really be a disaster. And so that's, I think that, you could really upset the offensive apple cart when you suddenly, they don't really guard Royce O'Neal right now. Okay. If you watch us play, we have less space on the floor when Royce O'Neal's on the floor than when Joe Ingles is on the floor. That's why when Joe starts in place of Royce, that game, our offense looked a little different. Okay, Royce does a lot of things well, and he hits 42% of his wide open threes. If they don't guard the other guy, whoever you're adding in here, if you're gonna play with Royce O'Neal, we basically have 3 non-scorers on the floor. Like now, you've really upset the apple cart. Now you go put Royce O'Neal, someone in Royce O'Neal's spot instead, and they better be able to shoot the 3. Because they're not guarding him. And so then Donovan's not getting his look. Mike's not getting his look, and our catch and shoots are not guarding. We had that with Jay Crowder and Ricky Rubio. They weren't guarded. They were wide open, and then they missed shots all the time. What changes do we need to make to jump to the next level? Well, I don't know what the next level is, Keaton. I think the only next level really would be like a dominant number 1 seed, no questions asked. We're going to win it. No, only us or Brooklyn's going to win. Like right now, I look at it and I think Brooklyn probably has like a 20% chance to win it. Milwaukee's got a 15% chance to win it. Phoenix got about a 15% chance to win it. Golden State's got like a 12%. And we got like a 12%. Like that's the way I would look at it. So like the next level you're asking for, I think, if I get what you're saying, is like chance of winning the finals. I just went to, I was pretty dang close. Bucks are at 23%, Suns are at 20, Jazz are at 18, Nets are at 13, according to 538. So what you're really asking is how do we get to 40% chance? Like, I don't think we do. If I'm totally honest. Like, we add an all-star? Like, what are we going to do that moves our next level, would mean some level other than where we are? Now, can we make a move that moves us from a 15% chance to win a title to a 70% chance to win a title? Maybe. But like next level, what you're saying is, how do we go from 15% chance to 35% chance to win the title? And we're like certain, undisputed, we're going. I don't have that. I don't have that. I mean, that's like, I don't know. Like, is there an NBA All-Star that we trade for Bojan Bogdanovic and Joe Ingles for an NBA All-Star? Then yeah. Like, and then and we don't disrupt who we are. Like Paul George, sure. Yeah, we go trade Boyan and Joe Ingles for Paul George, and yeah, I think we suddenly would be the undisputed like Western Conference champ, but we're not doing that. Like that's that. So I don't think there is like that next level. I think we're moving incrementally like 1% and 2% at a time. That is Locked on Jazz from the van down by the river. Hope you're having a great one. Thanks.